Okay, so we're looking at the homework question 15. It says the cholesterol levels of an adult can be defined by a normal model with a mean of 197 and a standard deviation of 21. And you're asked to draw and label the model. And so when we think about the normal model, if we have a mean of 197, we'll put that in the center. And I'll just kind of, what I'll do up here in Excel is I'll go ahead and say what I have. I have a mean and I have a standard deviation. And the mean I'll put in cell B1, which is 197. And the standard deviation I'll put in cell B2, which is 21. So then if I want to get the values on either side of the mean, I'll just kind of do that right here. I'll say I'm going to go from the left to the right. So I'm going to take what's in, I'll put an equal sign, and then I'll take what's in B1, which is the 197, and then I'm going to subtract 3 times what's in B2. Right? And then I'm going to make both of these absolute references. So I'll make this a F4 here, and then I'll make B2 an F4. And so I've got 134. Now if I just drag this 6 places, but here I can, and then I'll edit it, and I want this to be just 2 standard deviations away from the mean. Then I want this one to be just 1 standard deviation away from the mean. So I'm taking that off, and then I just want this one to be the mean, so I'm going to take the subtraction part off. And then this one is going to be plus 1 standard deviation, so I'll just change that to a plus. And then this one is going to be plus 2. And then finally this one will be plus 3. So now I should see that it goes from 134 to 260, and 99.7 is going to be within 134 to 260. So this is clearly going to be this choice B here. So I'll choose choice B, check my answer. Okay, and then continuing, it says, what percent of adults do you expect to have cholesterol level over 200? Well, 200 is not on this screen. You know, it's not one of my, it doesn't fall into the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, so I'm going to have to use the norm dist function on my calculator. I'll say if it's over 200 and I want to get the area, the norm distribution function only returns the area to the left. So if I want the area to the right of 200, I'm going to have to do equals and then 1 minus the area to the left, which I find by doing norm dist. Oops. Okay, so I'll do 1 minus and then norm, I'll do the equal sign first, equals 1 minus norm dist for normal distribution, and then the value, which is 200, comma, the mean, I have it right here, so I can just grab it, and comma the standard deviation, which I can grab, and then you always just say comma 1. And then hit enter, and you're going to want to make this number a percent, so round it to 2 decimal places. So you could say equals this times 100, and then so that's 44.32. Okay, what percent do you expect to have between 170 and 180? So when you're looking for values in between, remember the norm dist function returns the area to the left. So if you find the area to the left of 180 and then subtract the area to the left of 170, you will have the area in between 180 and 170. So we'll say equals and then norm dist, and then we'll do the 180, comma the mean, which I already have typed in, comma the standard deviation, comma 1, and then I'm going to subtract norm dot dist of the 170. So I do the area to the left of 180 minus the area to the left of 170, which will give me the area in between the two. Okay? And I add the mean and the standard deviation and comma 1. So I hit enter. So that's, and then I want to make that number a percent, so I can say in the next cell I can say equals and take that number and multiply it by 100, and I get 10.98 rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay, estimate the interquartile range. Well, the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1, right? So IQR is equal to Q3 minus Q1, right? So you have to get Q3. Well, Q3 is your 75th percentile. And Q1, of course, is your 25th percentile. So if I want to get the 75th percentile, now I'm looking for the data value that's associated with the 75th percentile. So the way that I get that is I use the norm.inverse function. So I say equals and then norm.inverse, and then I'll do 0.75 because I want the area to the left, which of the 75th percentile, so 0.75 will be the area. The mean is still up here, 197, and the standard deviation is 21, and then I can do comma 1. Oops, let's see. What did it, oh, I don't do the comma 1, I'm sorry, with this norm inverse function. That's with the other function. So 211.16 is Q3. To get Q1, you can actually just drag this down, but we're going to need to, we got to do some work here, don't we? Change this to a 25th percentile, and then let's change this one to be 1 and this one to be 2. Hit enter. Right, and so that's your Q1. So your IQR then is going to be the difference between those two. So I'll just label it IQR, and then in this cell I'm just going to say equals that cell Q3 minus the value that I got in Q1. And hit enter. So that's 28.32, but they want it rounded to the nearest integer, so just 28. Okay, about what value are the highest 15% of adult cholesterol levels? Right now, the norm inverse button needs, as its first command, the area to the left. The highest 15%, that's the area to the right. So the area, if you're looking at, if 15% is up to the right, then 100% minus 15% or 85% will be to the left. So you're going to do the norm inverse button, but you're going to use 0.85 because the norm inverse requires that you type in the value to the area to the left. And so you'll do 0.85, comma the mean, which was B1, comma the standard deviation, which is B2, and then close that. So it's 200, and rounded to the nearest integer, that's going to be 219. Oops. Okay, so there you go. That's a nice problem practicing using the Excel to get these values.